Okay, so the continuation of PLSQL. So today we'll
Yep.
discuss about cursors. Okay. So cursor. So cursor is one of the utmost important functionality in the PLSQL. Okay. And we also need to
Yeah.
understand PL, the programming language, the name PL by SQL. It means that you require to know SQL also, because a procedural language without SQL there is nothing in the Oracle scenario.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
procedural language, again 50% of the coding, whatever you write, it's again SQL coding only. Nothing but like writing a select query, writing a DML operation, right? Or maybe a DDL
Yes.
operation. So most of the
Yes.
code, what you write, again it will be SQL also. So it will be a interdependent kind of thing. Now,
Yes.
what is the purpose of cursor is like before that? So we know that database, let us say if you want to deal with the data, to deal with the data, it's only
Hmm.
SQL, right? So SQL is the only language which we use to deal with the data. So here when I say
Yeah.
deal, it means that performing DML.
Yeah.
Okay. So now,
Yes.
as we know that PL cannot have capability to perform any operation on a database. PL doesn't have that capability. Procedural language is a programming language which is having the capability to have a different set of conditions, looping, iterations, and all those things. But to deal with the data, you require SQL only. Okay. So then within the PL, so
Yeah.
as it is a programming flavor kind of thing, what it has done is like sometimes you may need to perform operation on a single record or a multiple record, or you want to fetch some data, or you want to fetch a record. So what do we do is there are different scenarios you'll come across. So first thing is cursor. What is a cursor? So cursor is a
Hmm.
placeholder. Let me write here. So my definitions may not be
Hmm.
exact general definition, but I'll try to give you a proper understanding thing. 1 minute.
Yeah. Continue. Sure. Sure.
Okay, so cursor is a placeholder to store the result of a SQL query. Okay, cursor is a placeholder
Yeah.
to store the result of a SQL query. So what do you mean by placeholder? You can just consider it as a variable. I can say like a temporary variable. We generally call it as, right, temporary variable. So
Yeah.
the same thing, just a temporary variable. I can say it's just a temporary variable to store
Hmm.
the result of a SQL query. I'll give a clear clarity now again. So what we do is let us connect to database once.
Okay.
Okay, just go with cursor. Yeah. Now, so before writing the PL
Hmm.
SQL, let us write the SQL. Select start from, or maybe better I use GL balances. Okay, so this is one of my Oracle ERP table.
Okay.
Now, when you execute the query
Yes.
as a developer, so we know that when you execute a query, it will give you the
Hmm.
data, right? So where are you seeing the data now? In the SQL developer, right?
Yes.
In the SQL developer, in one of the place, right, in the query result
Yes.
area, you could see the data, right? Now, let us see if I press F5, it will give you in the
Yes.
script output. So there's a different query result and script output, right? Query result is F9 and this is F5.
This is description.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
it's output, not description. Okay. So what I'm saying is,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
whenever you execute a query, there are two ways of executing. One is F5, another is F9. Okay. So what I'm saying is, when you execute a query,
Yes.
the result has to be shown to the user. So it will be shown in one of the placeholder, nothing but either nothing but in a particular area. I mean, in a particular area, it will show the result. Now, in the PLSQL, let us say you're writing some program to find out what is the balance of a particular ledger on a particular date on a particular period. So how do you get it? Because PLSQL on its own cannot understand any data. PLSQL on its own cannot handle any
Yes.
data. So now what we have to do, we have to use a PLSQL, we have to use a cursor which will hold the result of a SQL query. Only cursor can hold it. There is no other temporary
Sure.
variable. Other variable declaration, whatever you do, it cannot hold the result of a SQL query. Of course, it will hold, but the concept behind them, we call it as cursor. Okay. So let us do
Yeah.
that. So I'll just comment this one. Declare begin and end. Let us say,
And yeah.
I'll just go on. I just want to get the amount. So I'll just say select we'll have the balances here, right? Project year to date, project to date.
To do that. Debitor and creditor is there.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just take this period net. Okay, dr into v underscore amount from GL balances where row num. I'm not considering any criteria at all. Okay, just ignore all the criteria as of now. I'll just mention row num less than 2. Now what will happen?
True.
So when you write a query, what you do is, let us say when you write any query inside a PLSQL, first of all validate your query. Okay, because if your query is not correct, the result what you get will not be correct, right? So now we have written this query now, right? So what I will do
Yes.
is, before taking this query in the
Yeah.
PLSQL, before that execute the query. Now I'm getting 1600, right? So it means that my query is correct. It is executing without any error. Now here, if you want, now
Yes.
when you execute a query, the result is getting shown in the query result area. So now if you want this value to be used in your
Yeah.
PLSQL program, if you want to use this particular value in your PLSQL program, then there should be a placeholder which will store the value in a variable, right? So here, this kind of cursor, we
Yes.
call it as implicit cursor.
Okay.
This type of cursor we call it as.
Like whenever we are writing any PLSQL procedure or function, anywhere like anonymous block also, and we are not mentioning any cursor name, those cursors are all of them are implicit cursors, right?
We'll discuss that. So as of now, don't worry about what is the naming convention. Okay. So now this is one
Okay.
we can consider. This is one type of cursor. Okay. Leave about whether it's implicit, explicit, or ref. So actually there are 3 types of cursor. Okay. But we'll get a clarity. Let us do one by one. Now what I've done is I just declared a
Okay.
declared section a temporary variable, and in the begin section I wrote a very simple query which is fetching a data and storing the value in one of the variable. Okay. So now let us just print this one, dbms underscore output dot put underscore line amount. Okay, v underscore amount. Okay, let's execute F5, right? So now we have to enable dbms output if you
Yes.
want to see the output. Click on view, dbms output. 1600. Okay, we'll see one more type of
Yes.
cursor again, then I'll tell you what is a which one to use where. Okay, and what kind of cursor it is called. Okay, we'll
Oh,
just do one more sample and then we'll discuss that.
okay.
So what we do is,
Okay.
now the requirement is to write a query, nothing but write a PLSQL program which will fetch the first 20 employees, HRMS employees, the first 20 HRMS
Okay.
employees. Write a procedure,
Okay.
write a PLSQL program, I mean to say, to fetch first 20 employees.
Hmm.
So now what is a
Hmm.
query? Query is very simple. Select star from where people X, where
But
row num less than 21, which will fetch me first 21.
20.
So there is no criteria
Okay.
involved, whether to say based on a creation date, based on a date of birth, based on person ID, based on person number, doesn't matter, right? Row number doesn't consider all those things.
Hmm.
This is my query. Now, so here what we do is now, yeah, so declare, begin and end. Now here the query which we have written here, how many records it is fetching? 20 records, right?
20 records.
Leave
Yes.
about the columns, but actually when you run the query, it is giving you 20 records. Now, so it is nothing but like if someone is giving you 20 rupees, you should be capable enough to handle that 20 rupees, right? Simple. Or maybe let us say if we consider weight, let us say
Yes.
if I am placing 100 kg weight on you, you should be capable enough to hold that 100 kg weight,
Hmm.
right? Let us if I give you 1 kg weight, you should be capable
Yes.
enough to
Yes.
hold that 1 kg weight. The same way, when you're getting a data, if you're getting a huge data, your variable should be capable enough to hold that huge data. That is all about the cursors. Okay.
Yes.
Now, yeah. So here, what I do is here I prefer to use a like a explicit cursor. This is called explicit cursor. C underscore HR data is select star from per people X, where
Cursor name is select start from
okay.
parallax where pronoun is 25.
So only extra thing is you'll have your select query the way you write generally. There is no difference in that. The same way, whatever query you generally write for SQL
Yes.
purpose, just use that. Only thing is you just need to mention cursor, cursor name is. This extra thing you have to mention. Now, so
Yes.
now we just declared a variable which is holding a cursor. But until unless you execute the cursor, it will not show you the data, right? So that is a logic. So now there are
Yes.
different ways of opening the cursor, fetching the cursor, and all those things. There are different ways. Initially, let us start with a very easier way, okay? For record in C underscore HR data. This is one of the easiest way to use a cursor. Loop
Yeah.
and loop. Okay. Well, simply let us say I
Yes.
just want to print my person ID or maybe person name. Let us say person ID. Rig dot person underscore
Yeah.
ID. Okay,
That's
that's it.
ID.
Now execute
Yes.
the query.
Yes.
Right? We got this 20 records. Okay.
Yes. 20.
Now let us discuss again what is the difference, which one to use, where, all those stuff. So the first thing is, first of all, the definition of a cursor is it is a placeholder to store the data.
Yeah.
Placeholder to store the data. And what are the types
Hmm.
of cursors? So there are totally three types.
Hmm.
1 minute. Types of cursors: implicit, explicit, and ref cursor. Now, so you need to understand the purpose. So we know what is cursor, and these are types of
Hmm.
cursor, and we have to
Hmm.
understand when we have to use it and what is the purpose. So implicit cursor should be used when you want to fetch only one record.
Okay.
And if it fetches, if you're trying to write a query, if it fetches more than one record, it will give you exception. Now in our
Okay.
case, the GL balancer scenario, I just mentioned row name less than 2. If I mention row name, if I mention row name less than 3, it will fetch 2 records, then your program will give an error. Simple.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So implicit cursor is used when you want to fetch only one
Yes,
record.
yes.
It is not about the number of columns, but it's about the number of records.
Yes.
Got it? Now I'll show you
Yeah,
this
yeah.
example again. See. Now here, what is other yeah, we have ledger ID, right? Let us say I would like to fetch ledger ID also. What I have to do?
Number.
Simply I will just mention
Year row number 3.
v ledger underscore ID, comma, here in the into clause.
Yeah.
So the number of columns, how many you mention in your select clause, the same number of columns should be available in your into clause also. Because if you're giving me 2 rupees,
Yeah.
I should be holding 2 rupees, right? Right? So
Yeah.
it's simply executed without an error. Let us say if I change the value from 2 to 3, let's see what will happen. Right? Can you see? Now it is giving an error. Exact fetch returns more than one row.
Yes.
Exact fetch returns more than requested number of rows. Right? So this is what happens.
Mhm.
Okay. Now
Yes.
the basic concept is when you are using implicit cursor, it should be used to fetch only one record. And why it is called implicit? Because open, fetch, and close of cursors are taken care by Oracle
By this
engine.
Oracle.
That's the reason it is called
Yes.
implicit cursor. Clear?
Yes.
And
Yes.
now,
Yes.
yeah, coming to explicit, it should be used when you want to fetch, when when it is required to fetch more than one row.
Hmm.
If you want to get multiple records, we have to use this one.
Okay.
And here, explicit
Mm-hmm.
explicit cursor definition, open, fetch, and close are required. We have to mention the cursor definition and we have to explicitly open, fetch, and close are required. But if you use for loop, open, fetch, close are taken care automatically. If you are using for loop,
Okay.
that's the reason I use for loop, right? Because
Hmm.
I doesn't need to mention open, fetch, close, all these things. Now I'll show you the first variant
Yes.
also.
Yes.
So now let us say the same program which I've written using for loop, I'll try to write without using for loop. Okay, you'll understand that.
Okay.
If you don't use loop, what will happen? It will fetch only one record, right?
Yes.
Let's see.
Yes. Yes.
Cursor underscore. Okay. So I'll just remove this as of now. I'll just declare one temporary variable L underscore PID number. Okay. Now we have to
Hmm.
explicitly open. We open C underscore HR data. Now the cursor got opened. It means that whatever the query which we have mentioned that got executed. And where it is stored? It is stored within the cursor only. It is stored within the cursor only. Now what you have to do? You need to fetch it.
Yes.
You need to fetch it. C underscore HR data into L underscore
Yeah.
PID. Now if you want to
P8.
print
Yes.
it, just simply print it. dbms underscore output dot output underscore line PID underscore PID. That's it, right? Now we have to explicitly
P8.
close it.
Yeah.
If you don't close it, what happens is whatever the memory which is allocated for your cursor will be there like that itself, right? So generally when you write a program, we have to always consider the
Hmm.
readability and the performance also into consideration. and whatever the logic which you use it, you
Yeah.
need to always consider that it is efficient enough so that your program will run in an appropriate amount of time. Right? Yeah, we got some error.
Yes.
It says, yeah, okay, fetch chr. Okay, the
Again.
problem is you're fetching some data, right? And now here it is returning n number of columns, but here you mentioned a single particular thing, right? Single variable. So what you do, make sure that you mention only person ID here.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
Yeah.
Okay, PID got 5. There is only one particular person ID got retrieved. How about the remaining 19? So if you want to fetch the remaining 19 also,
Failing
what you have
drops.
to do? You require to use loop. Without loop, you cannot do that.
Low.
So
Yes.
after open condition, now here I'm using the basic loop.
Yes. Basic loop.
Okay, end loop,
Yes.
exit when c underscore hr data percentile not found, right?
Not found. Yes. Yes.
That's it. We got all the data,
Yeah. We got.
and
Yes.
just see here. And here the last 28 got repeated twice, right?
Yes.
Why? Why it got
See.
repeated twice? It got iterated 21 times actually. We can try to find out that also. It got iterated 21 times.
Yeah. Hmm.
I'll just say L underscore iteration number is equal to 0. We'll try to count how many fetches it is performing, okay?
Yes. Yes. Stop it.
Yeah. Now 21, right? It got fetched 21 times.
Yeah.
And here, nothing but this particular fetching was done more than once, right? So what happens is after reaching the 20th record,
Yeah.
so loop, now let us say loop has iterated 20 times, okay? But this condition at the 20th place, this condition still holds true, right? At 20th place, this condition still holds true. And at
Hmm.
21st time, what happens is this fetch will get fail. This fetch will get fail. Nothing but fetch operation will not fetch any data, but you're simply printing it, right? So what happens is the fetch itself is not executed because there is no data. There is no data. So what happens is what are the data which is already available in the PID is getting printed automatically. So what you have to do is you just need to mention to resolve this issue. This exit condition should be just simply placed after fetch. That's it.
Yeah.
This will solve this issue. So this is a small bug, but this may lead to bigger issue also in the real time. It's a logical issue. It's
Yes.
not technical. It's a logical issue. Now can you see 20? It fetched only.
Log.
It performed only
Yep.
20 times. Okay.
Yes.
So now, so rather than having all this
Hmm.
complication, which one you prefer? For loop is the best one, right? Using a open,
Yeah. For
fetch,
loop will be the
close,
best one.
exit. That's the thing. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So now the next thing is, yeah. So cursor, yeah, these are two things like the implicit and explicit. Riff cursor will not consider now. We'll take some time to consider this because we need to understand the table types. Then only it is wise to discuss about this particular topic. So the only difference between a normal explicit cursor and riff cursor is, so in the explicit cursor,
Okay.
when you define a cursor with a particular query, you cannot change the query, right? But in the riff cursor, what happens is
Hmm.
you can dynamically allocate a query to your ref cursor and you can simply execute that. It's like dynamically passing a query to a particular variable and
Okay.
executing that result and holding that value. So we'll discuss that sometime later once we have a clarity on the table types. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So any doubts in the cursor? So far okay.
One second.
And in the explicit cursor, we have some set of variables like percentile found, percentile not found, row count, something like that. And one more thing I'll forgot to tell you. See, so
Attributes, right? Cursor.
yeah, cursor attributes. Other thing I want to tell you is, yeah, let me tell.
Hmm.
I'll just tell you one requirement. Just tell me how do we solve it, okay? Assume that you need to write a PLSQL program
Hmm.
to perform deletion of few records based on input criteria. Okay, and now
Okay.
what your program has to return is the expected return value from the procedure is the number of rows it deleted. Are you getting?
Okay.
So how do we know how many rows it got deleted? How can we
Yeah.
find that? How can we find that?
Return value from the number of rows deleted. In cursor?
It is just a requirement. You tell me how can we do it, whether we can do it or not. The requirement is to design a program which will take input parameter. It has to perform deletion of data,
Okay.
and it has to return the number of rows it deleted. So anyways, so what you do is take your time.
Not getting.
So you understood the
Okay.
requirement or not, first of all?
No, I'm unable to understand. Could you tell me once again?
You need to write a PLSQL program to perform
We
deletion
need
of
to
few records.
perform PLSQL program to perform deletion of, yeah,
Yeah,
few records.
yeah. So that procedure should return a value also. Nothing
Hmm?
but it has to print some
Okay.
value saying that how many records it has deleted.
Okay.
Yeah. So how do you know how many records you deleted? How can you find that?
Clear condition.
The simple thing was, let us say I'll just mention delete from EMP where
Where?
department and
Where
no eligible.
condition you are passing.
So now, if you write the same thing inside
Can.
your PLSQL program, how do we know that? How do your PLSQL program know how many records you have deleted?
Yeah.
That is what my question is. How do we know it?
Delete.
Search on this, okay? You understood requirement. I'm leave about the result. Leave about how do we implement. I'm not asking you the
Definitely
implementation.
I'll do it. I'll search it.
Okay? Just search on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Because cursor is not only used while fetching the data, cursor is also used
Hmm.
when you are performing DML operation. That is what I want to highlight. Cursor is not only for the purpose of just fetching the data. When you perform any DML operation also, implicit cursor will get fired. Okay? Clear?
Yes.
Fine?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll discuss more again. So because these things will be we have to frequently use it, right? So again we'll be discussing on this. So you can just search for row count, SQL percentile row count. That's a solution actually. SQL percentile row count will give you
Okay.
exact number of records inserted or deleted. So using that, we can simply easily identify how many got deleted or how many got inserted. So when you write insert statement inside a PL SQL, there is a need
Sir.
to know it, right? There is a need to know whether your insertion is successful or not. If successful, how many records has inserted? How do we know it?
Yeah.
We can't always try to find the difference in the count, and
Yeah.
that's unnecessary task, isn't it?
Yes.
Using a SQL percentile row count, it will always
Using row
give you
count.
the
Percentage
the previous
count of the
result.
deletion.
Yeah, the previous, yeah, the nothing but, yeah, the result of a previous operation. So that so when you perform any DML operation also, the cursor, implicit cursor will get fired. That is the logic. Okay.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are going to continue tomorrow
No, we'll
now.
stop now.